Okay.
Alright, we should be live. Let me go ahead and check.
Probably ought to pull up the stream.
We are, in fact, live. Awesome. Alright, hello everyone. Ace here. And today I'm joined with several guests for Veterans Day. And we are specifically joined with Osmegon, Dr. Calkiel, Jedi Knight, Nathan X2000. Although we might also have additional guests as well showing up later on. Why don't you say hello, everyone?
Hello.
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 Peekaboo.
And
Oi.
today we've got something rather special for Veterans Day. This is a book we'll be having a look at a little bit of called 500 of the Best Cockney War Stories. These are actual war stories from World War One. The book was written just after the war had actually ended. But the way it worked was, if I remember correctly, basically there was some sort of letter campaign going on where a newspaper company wanted veterans from the war to submit war stories so they can make this compilation. So the guys did, and this is the stories from those guys that were there.
Do these stories take place across every nation that fought on both sides?
They are Cockney war stories, so it's going to be specifically
British.
Londoners. Very specifically
All right.
Londoners.
So we'll be doing British accents?
Well, you don't have to do British accents.
I mean, the only genuine Brit here, Nathan.
Yep.
I mean, I'm British.
I can do an accent, and the accuracy is going to be debatable, but
I'm gonna say it's not necessary. You don't have to do
Alright.
it if you don't want to. All right, so
there's
Alright.
no rule against doing it if we want to try.
there's no rule against
It just makes it
Okay.
more fun.
Yeah. So let me read some of the
All right,
comments.
mate. Let's do this.
Carol says hello. Ilya says standard 4chan greeting. Also Independence Day of Poland. Interesting. And captured Harrison back. Jackson says greeting. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. There are 500 stories, but the plan is going to be to read about 50 of them. I've got the titles listed here, so we'll basically skip to these various ones, and they're going to be from the action chapter. So these are, yeah. Anyways, so I guess the first one is going to be the outside fair. Who wants to go?
All right. I could do it. Is it really that short right there?
Yeah, there's a lot of short ones. I figured we could have a few thoughts on each of the stories if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I'll hit this one.
Okay.
During the third battle at Ypres, a German field gun was trying to hit one of our tanks. The fire being directed, no doubt, by an observation balloon. On the top of the tank was a Cockney infantryman, getting a free ride and seemingly quite unconcerned at Jerry's attempts to score a direct hit on the tank. And there's a nice, colourful image there.
Mm-hmm.
As the tank was passing our guns, a shrapnel shell burst just behind it and above it. We expected to see the Cockney passenger roll off dead. All he did, however, was to put his hand on his mouth and shout to those inside the tank, "Oi, conductor! Any room inside? It's raining!" And that was by A.H. Boughton, XB Battery HAC, 53 Daphorn Road, SW17.
All right.
Mr. Button.
So one of the artillery gunners from the Third Battle of Ypres, as from what that story is. So yeah, first story, and well, what do you guys think?
Typical
Solid.
Britain.
It's pretty
Are we
solid.
judging the story or my delivery?
Well, the story itself.
Or both? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's short and it does, yeah, it's short and sweet and funny.
Agreed.
So,
these feel a lot like. I mean, they feel a lot like journal entries too,
Yeah.
which I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were.
it is so fitting for a Cockney bastard from London, though, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Especially with the Brit veteran I know being Ball. If for those who've met him, the guy's very much a sauerkraut kind of guy. He's a bit terse,
Oh,
and I can imagine him in this exact scenario. Just shrapnel fire all around him, just basically an FU to those behind him as he's going, "It's raining."
I will say this: this does set the tone. Some of the stories are admittedly funny. Some of them are admittedly a little bleak because these are actual war stories, and some of them are a case of what the military refers to as pucker factor. Anyone want to know what pucker factor is?
The fuck?
Sure.
Pucker factor means very close call, as in it causes your backside to pucker up.
Yeah.
Your asshole tightens into basically a black hole.
I think we've all gotten that when we went on roller coasters when we were kids.
Well, you're gonna
Roller
get
coaster when you're a kid. Like I got jumped one time after I left work, so my asshole puckered, but my fists also tightened. So
you're going to get a
Got
lot of
close to-
those in this. I can safely say that.
yeah.
All right,
Ugh.
so
Gross,
that's-
but interesting fact of life.
well, yeah, but that's just a military term. So the next one we're gonna go is a little bit down. It's called Samson but Shorn. Okay, so does everyone have that?
Hold on.
Simpson, but
Found it.
Mhm. Got it.
All
There
right.
it is.
So who wants to read this one? I guess I can do it.
And I could do it again if you'd like.
Well,
or
I'm
you
thinking
can.
one person per round, and then we, like I said, we repeat, so everyone gets their turn that way. All right, so I guess I'll
All right,
do this.
while you read it, I'll pour my whiskey.
Fair enough. Samson but Shorn. During the attack near Zilbeck in June 1916, a diminutive cockney named Samson, oddly enough, received a scalp wound from a shell splinter which furrowed a neat path through his hair. The fighting was rather hot at that time, and this great-hearted little Londoner carried on with the good work. Some hours later came the order to fall back, and as the cockney was making his way down the remains of a trench, dazed and staggering, a harassed sergeant, himself nearly all in, ordered him to bear off a couple of rifles and a box of ammunition. This was the last straw. "Strike, Sergeant," he said, weakly. "I can't help me name being Samson, but I've just had me perishin' haircut."
These that again, most of these we can all probably predict a good chunk of them have humor, but the thing is, it makes a lot of sense because typically soldiers are the rough and tumble type, right? Especially if you live through a lot of that nonsense. So part of the coping mechanism is humor.
Yep.
And that's why I think so many of like the stories that we're gonna see today are going to have a humorous lint to them, even if they are in objectively like dark scenarios.
And that's the beauty of irony.
Yeah, it's kind of the usage of it. It's a coping mechanism, and I think it's quite beautiful. And I think not to get like political, but I think it's why certain groups attacking people for jokes and humor is a huge detriment to people's psychological conditions, not necessarily helping them.
Agreed.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Another thing I've noticed with some of these is some of these stories you can pretty much also tell that some of the guys have been through it quite a bit as well, because they get also sometimes very matter of fact.
All right.
They just say it as blatantly as possible, just as plain as possible. If you ask me, some of these you'll know exactly what I mean with some of these.
Yeah,
so.
desensitization to the info.
Yeah. So the
situation.
next one I picked out here was what's bred in the bone. So who wants to have a go at this? So this is a good. Okay, this one I know for a fact is a good case of pucker factor. So,
Wait, can I volunteer somebody? Because I want to volunteer Nathan for this one.
Yeah, do it.
God damn it. Okay.
Do
I
it.
was gonna go.
What's bred in
Oh.
the bone is the other one we'll be reading next.
All right.
When we were at Railway Wood, Ypres Salient in 1916, Muddy Lane, our only communication trench from the front line to the support line, had been reduced to shapelessness by innumerable heavies. Progress in either direction entailed exposure to snipers in at least 12 different places, and runners and messengers were, as our sergeant put it, tickled all the way. In the support line one afternoon, hearing the familiar crack, 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 I went to Muddy Lane Junction to await the advertised visitor. He arrived, a wiry little Cockney Tommy, with his tin hat dented in 2 places and blood trickling from a bullet graze in his cheek. In appreciation of the risk he had run, I remarked, "Jerry seems to be watching that bit." "Watching?" he replied. "Struth, I felt like I was walking down South End Pier naked." Nice.
See, that's what I mean by pucker factor. Shot 3 times by a sniper. Twice the helmet covers him, and then the 3rd time it's just a graze.
You got to admire how bad that sniper was, though.
More how
Yeah.
unlucky, more than anything.
You hit him twice in the helmet and don't penetrate it, and you only graze his cheek.
That's bad,
impressive.
Very.
It's like you gotta know he turned around to the sniper. I mean, turned around to his mates and went, "Maybe someone else should do this job. Just maybe."
That guy
This
must
hard.
that sniper must have been pissed off at his luck by the end of that.
Oh yeah.
No, he would have been speaking in German gibberish. He'd be like, "Shut the siphon, Sliver."
Jackson.
Alright, so next one-man army. Who wants to do that?
Hmm.
One
Jedi.
man army.
Jedi.
All right. I will say I'm not very good at reading out loud or pronouncing certain things, so
That's
be
okay.
prepared for some stupidity. All right. The 47th Division were holding up the lines of the Bluff sector near Ypres early in 1917, and the 20th London Battalion being reviled. I mean,
Relieved.
being relieved on a very wet evening. As I was growing up to the front lines with the working party, near Hellfire Corner, shells were coming all about at 3-minute intervals. One of the 20th London Louis gunners was passing in full flight order with fur coat, gum boots, etc., carrying his Louis gun, several drums of ammunition, and the inevitable rum jar. One of my working party, a typical Cockney, surveyed him and said, "Look, blimey, he only wants a field gun under each arm, and he'd be Bally Division." Yeah, sorry, that was
That's okay. No worries.
not good. I'm not good at reading out
Are
loud.
you nervous? Are you nervous?
I'm not nervous. I've just never been good at reading out loud.
That's okay.
just how I've been. So
Okay.
I've been like that my whole life.
No worries.
I've
no
never
worries.
been good at it. Plus, I was
Not
trying to
big
do
deal.
a Western. I was doing a great Western accent.
So yeah, so in other words, so they're saying that he's basically packed with a whole bunch of equipment on, and so much that he just need another field gun and he'd be at a whole division. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
All right. So yep. So that I think that was a short one. Here. Okay. So here's another one. I got Old Nelson beat. Who wants to do that?
Well, I left then, yeah.
Yep.
Right in.
Yep. I think you're the one that's it.
Yes. Several stretcher cases in the field dressing station at the foot of the Chocolate Hill Gallipoli awaited removal by ambulance, including a Cockney trooper and the dismounted what the hell is that?
Yemen.
Yeomanry.
Marnie.
That's a word. All right. Had a bandage round his head. Only one eye was visible, and his left arm was bound to his breast with a sandbag. His rapid fire of Cockney witticisms had helped to keep her spirits up while waiting. Not a comment for everything. Suddenly a strafe started, and a shrapnel shell shot its load among us. Wow, dude, that was a lot of funny statements in a short sequence.
He said it. He said the word. He said Among Us.
Amogus.
Oh
Amogus.
crap! Somebody open sus.
Yes. Confusion, shouts and moans Then a half hysterical, half triumphant shout from the Cockney. Lummy, one in the blinking leg this time. I got old Nelson beat at last.
His name is Jay Kuma.
What a great name.
His name is literally Kuma.
There's a lot of inappropriate things you could rearrange that to.
Yeah.
I mean,
When you're
Coomer
upset
itself
about it.
is a
Yeah, just-
inappropriate.
No, replace the M with an N. What do you get? Think about that for a
Oh
second.
no.
It's not even rearranging them; that's replacing letters.
Oops.
I got old Nelson beat though, I like that.
Oh no, some beat.
I beat old Nelson. I'm better than you.
Alright.
Suck on this, mate. Holds up
Stereotypical
middle
quotes
finger.
and stereotypical one-liners from around the world.
Yeah. Siege says, takes a hit and makes a joke. Yeah, there's going to be a fair number of those on this.
Again, that's how you cope with shit like this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, I nearly died.
So the next one I have listed is two kinds of fatalist. I believe that would mean Honest Magan, you're up.
All right. A German sniper was busy potting out our men in a frontline trench at Cambrai in March 1918. A Cockney old sweet, observing a youngster gazing over the parapet, asked him if he were a fatalist. The youngster replied, "Yes." "So am I," said the Cockney, "but I believes in ducking." Brownie. Kensal Rise and NW10.
I may be peeking up, but I believe more in ducking.
TB says,
Famous
but
words.
did you die from 100 years ago? Well, I'm guessing that's the I got old Nelson beat story. So that would mean that I'm next, and it's the Skivvies Day half off. Skivvies off day off. Okay.
Off tail.
All right. So Easter
Day
Monday, April 9th, 1917. Night. Inches of snow and a weird silence of everywhere after the turmoil of the day. Our battalion is held up in front of Monchy-le-Preux during the Battle of Arras. I am sent out to patrol a reconnoiter one of our tanks that is crippled and astride the German wire 300 yards out. It is ticklish work because the crew may be dead or wounded and for it's an occupation. We warily creep around the battered monster, and presently I tap gingerly on one of the doors. No response. We crawl to the other side and repeat the tapping process. At last, through the eerie silence comes a low, hoarse challenge. "Who are you?" "Fusiliers," I reply as I look up and see a tousled head sticking through the hole in the roof. "Ho!" he exclaimed the voice above. "I'll have to come down and let you in myself. It's the Skivvies' off day off." The speaker proved to have a shattered arm, among other things, and was the sole survivor of the crew.
Fine.
Oh.
Eek.
Yeah, he had the day off. And the week off, the month off, and the year off. He was on vacation.
Very
I mean,
nice.
what's the old Marine saying here in the US? Marines don't die, they go to hell and regroup. I think that's
I
the
think
saying.
that's what it is.
I'm pretty sure I've heard that saying a few times, so I think that's it.
Yeah. I think another one I've heard is cases for where you're allowed to go on leave. And one of the cases is if you've been killed in action, they say, it is acceptable, but you have to give us 2 weeks advance notice.
So you have to give 2 weeks advance notice, but you're killed in action.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Way to screw money out of people.
All right.
It is the government.
Sir, my plan is to die. Well, you better report it to your superior officer, young man.
So
What's
here's
superior?
here's another case of a story of a guy taking a hit and making a joke about it. So I think Nathan's up on this one, and it's Cricket on the Somme.
Spider, where was the Cockney? From Stepney, I believe. He was with us on the Somme in 1916. He was a splendid cricketer. We had had a very stiff time for 6 or 7 hours and were resting during a lull in the firing. Then, suddenly, Jerry sent over 5 shells. After a pause, another shell came over and burst near Spider and his 2 pals. When the smoke cleared, I went across to see what had happened. Spider's 2 pals were beyond help. The Cockney was propping himself up with his elbow, surveying the scene. "What's happened, Webb?" I said. "Blimey, what's happened?" was the reply. "1 over, 2 bowled," and, looking down at his leg, "and I'm stumped." Then he fainted.
Wow, what an ending.
Oh, man.
What the fuck?
Honestly,
Some of the
that's
moments like
better.
where you've been shot and he's like, "Oh, I think I've been hit." Dead.
Honestly, it's better than any M. Night Shyamalan twist ending.
And I'm starting to think the Black Knight from Monty Python's The Holy Grail was actually a realistic depiction.
It's
Really?
the flesh wound.
It is but a flesh wound. Come back here. I'll bite your legs off. It's like, just put it. he belonged in one of the division of infantry in the First World War.
So this one also, I think, is an example of what I mean by you can tell that the guy's been in because of how matter of fact he is. Just that last bit there. Then he fainted. Just as matter of fact as possible about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, the name Stepney, I know that was the name of an engine, but I don't know if it's like an actual city, town.
All right.
Cool.
So, I believe Nathan. So that would mean that the next person would once again be Jedi, correct?
Which one are we doing?
The next one is. Let me check. Yep, it's my Lord of Huxton.
We called him the Lord. He came from Houston. Or Huxton? How do you pronounce that again?
Hoxton, I
Hoxton.
think.
Huxton. That's what I got. That's what I make him, he used to say. He gave great assets to us, owing to wonderful way of which he went out and won things. One night near Amans in 1916, my lord said, I'm going out to see what some of his mob has got too much of one or two of us offered to accompany him, but he refused, saying, "You bloomin' elephants, you'll be behind to give him away." And 3 hours later, when we were beginning to get anxious, we saw him staggering with a boldly wounded German who was smoking a cigarette. Seeing us and very much afraid of being thought soft-hearted, my lord pumped our old Fritz down onto the fire steps and said very fiercely, "Don't you dare lean on me with impunity or with a frag in your mouth." That's a lot of F's. Jerry told us later they had Lean bad wounded in a deserted farmhouse for over 2 days, and my lord had almost carried him for over a mile. My lord was killed later on in the war. Our battalion was the 7th Battalion Royal Fossilers. W.A. Winter.
So, thoughts on that
Okay.
one, guys?
What was the
That
title
was-
of that one again?
My Lord
My
of
lord of
Huxton.
Huxton.
Okay, I think I went past it.
Ah,
Yeah, I thought we were scrolling down, so okay. But yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, about a guy who basically goes out in the middle of the night killing a bunch of people.
well, no, he actually went out to try to find. He basically went out to find loot to try to bring back either food or something, and ended up stumbling across the wounded German and just brought him back.
Oh. Strange. It's one of those stories where you think, like, wow, I didn't know they were that desperate they'd have to loot stuff.
Well, rations.
I mean,
could
that-
be...
That was a common thing, pretty much. That's a common thing in most wars. I know that sometimes it's jokingly referred to as quartermastering, but basically you have designated guys in your units if you guys are like fresh from a battle, and there's sometimes if it's desperate enough, like World War I, they did it quite a bit. But yeah, if there's stuff to salvage, if it's off your own guys' bodies, if it's off the enemy's bodies, regardless, if you're short on supplies and you're not expecting a shipment anytime soon, you need to find what you can. So that's ammunition, that's food, that's any kind of supplies.
Makes sense.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of that. If you have read the All Quiet on the Western Front, the actual book, there's actually a fair bit of that in the book. Cap being particularly known for his ability in the book to scavenge a lot of stuff. Apparently, at one point, he even manages to acquire an entire crate of lobsters.
Fresh lobster dinner back at the base, boys.
Fuck yeah.
Get the butter.
All right, so I think we are now back to Calcul, if I remember correctly. And so the next one is the Tall Man's War.
Right. Let me try a more refined accent for the general.
The Cockney.
No. You see, the stories are not always written by the Cockney, but the dialogue made by, so I will switch accents when the time arrives.
Are you gonna stop being such a posh and get on with the story? You're upsetting an angry Scottish man.
Yeah, I can do that too, don't pay me.
Glaswegian. Glaswegian. Interesting accent.
Very well. In our platoon was a very tall chap who was always causing us great amusement because of his height. Naturally, we showed his head above the parapets more often than the rest of us, and whenever he did so, ping would come a bullet from a sniper, and down our tall chum would drop in an indescribably funny acrobatic fashion. The climax came at Delville Wood in August 1916 when, taking over the line, we found the trench knocked about in a way that made it most uncomfortable for all of us. Here our tall friend had to report to his acrobatics more than ever. At times, he would crawl down on all fours to go, "Dodge 'em!" One shot, however, caused him to dive down more quickly than usual, right into a sump hole in the trench. Recovering himself, he turned to us and, with an expression of unutterable disgust, exclaimed, "You blokes can laugh! Anybody would think I was the only blighter in this war!" By C. Bragg, Late Rifle Brigade, 14th Division, 61 Hinton Road, Herne Hill, whatever that is. Yes.
So
You went the distance to roll every R you could.
Roll every R, yes. I love the alveolar trill. It is by far my favorite sound in spoken language. Rolled.
So yeah, you can tell very much that guys that were taller did not have a fun time in that particular war.
Nope. Hard to crouch.
Imagine.
So yeah, that's a good example there of that. Let's see what else we've got next. Simultaneous chess. And it looks like, I think, Osmogon Europe.
All right. Simultaneous chess?
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, there should be like a mute mode for YouTube on the fucking mobile.
I mean, I think there is.
I can't fucking find it.
Okay. Simultaneous chess. At Albo's Ridge, near Fromelles. I think I said that wrong. In October 1918, my chum and I were engrossed in a game of chess. A chessboard being a waterproof sheet with the squares painted on it. They'd cross a slab of concrete from a destroyed pillbox. Germans began to drop 5 nines with alarming regularity about 150 yards to our rear, temporarily distracting our attention from the game. Returning to the game, I said to my chum, Who's moved, Joe? Before he could reply, a shell landed with a deafening roar within a few yards of us, but luckily did not explode, hence this story. His reply was, ours, and we promptly did. B. Greenfield, MM, late Corporal, RFA 47th, London Division. LCC Parks Department, Tooting Beck Common, SW.
So yeah, that's a case of guys being really lucky there.
The thing is, it's not just the fact that they're coping with humor, but the wit they have to have in those moments. Literally a shell just dropped right by you and your friend. So you were like that close to fucking dying. You didn't. And instead of being frozen in shock, they were like, I guess it's our turn. Run. You just got to admire the fact that they were able to put wit in the moment. Like, it's one thing to make fun and make jokes about these stories after the fact, because you can recall it more humorous than it actually was. But it's a whole nother thing to, in the moment, like with comedic timing, successfully deliver a joke about something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are giving off Giga Chad energy from these remarks there, that's for sure.
People were just built different back then.
They were actual Chads.
Yeah.
So it had to be.
So the next one we have here is Teddy gets the last word, and it looks like it's mine. Let me go ahead and open up this. There we go. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this one. Sergeant Teddy was rather deaf, but I am inclined to think that this slight affliction enabled him to pull our legs on occasions. Our company of the London Regiment had just taken over a part of the line known as the Paris Redoubt, and on the first evening, in the sector of the company commander, the second-in-command, Sergeant Teddy, and myself had a stroll along the observation line, which was just forward of the front line, in order to visit the various posts. Suddenly, a salvo of shells came over, and one burst perilously near us. Three of the party adopted the prone position in record time, but on our looking around, Teddy was seen to be still standing and apparently quite unconcerned. "Why the dickens didn't you get down?" said one of the party, turning to him. "It nearly had us that time." "Time?" said Teddy, looking at his watch. 7:15, sir."
Fucking hell.
Nice.
Just doesn't give a fuck.
Who would?
I fucking hate mobile.
So yeah, that's...
Get a PC.
Alright, so next up, I believe it was Nathan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so the next one is Nobbler's Grouse.
Oh no, not the Noblars.
Ready to get canceled. Arch style.
Yep.
Yeah. What?
Just before the Battle of Messines, we of the 23rd Londons were holding off the bluff sector to the right of Hill 60. Stand down was the order, and the sergeant was coming round with the rum. Nobbler, late of the Mile End Road, was watching him in joyful anticipation when a whiz-bang burst on the parapet, hurling men in all directions. No one was hurt, but the precious rum jar was shattered. Nobbler, sitting up in the mud and moving his tin hat from his left eye the better to gaze upon the ruin, murmured bitterly, "Louvain, Reims, Lustiana, I know our perishing rum issue. Jerry, you heathen, you gets worse and worse. But, my hat, won't you cop it when you when you knows about this?" Poor man's heart. You never shoot a man's heart.
To be fair, if you lost your rum ration, you'd be pretty pissed about that. For understandable reasons.
It's like,
My
I've
God,
been
it's the only comfort I'd have.
I've been waiting 4 days for this, and you fucked me.
Alright, so I think Jedi, you're up, correct?
You think so? What's
Alright,
next?
So the next one is Salvage Yes Me.
Just give me a second. I gotta scroll. Ah, here we are. On the third day of the German offense in March 1918, a certain brigade of the RFA was retreating on the Pierron. A driver, hailing from London town, was in charge of the cook's cart, which contained officers' kits belonging to the headquarters staff. As he was making his way along, the pipsqueak came over and burst partially beneath the vehicle and blew the whole issue to pieces. The driver had a miraculous escape. When he recovered from the shock, he ruefully surveyed the debris, and after deciding that nothing could be done, continued on his journey on foot into the Pierron. Just outside Youngtown, he met by the adjutant, who said, "Hello, driver. What's happened?" Where's Cook's cart with the kit? Where's Cook's cart with the kit? Blown up, sir. Anything salved? Yes, sir. Me.
Giga Chad.
Holy shit. That is the greatest response ever.
I didn't mean to pause so much, but I guess it kind of helped with the build-up.
Yep.
Because for a second I thought that was the end, and I'm like, oh, wait, there's more shit.
I can just imagine like a man sitting in between all the car debris, fired all around, and the dude's there with a rifle, like, well, if anything solved, and he's there like, yeah, looking around. Me.
Like I said, that's what happened when you fuck with an angry Scottish man and his food. Well, food cart.
Especially if he's wearing a kilt.
If he's wearing a kilt, fucking run.
What a fucking kilt, you stupid bitch.
You're fucking dead.
Look, as long as it's not fat bastard, then we don't have to worry about being crushed.
Get in
my belly.
Alright, so next one here we got is almost self-inflicted, and I believe that is for you, Calcio.
Oh Lord. Beautiful. Hold on. Oh, perfect. I had to... wait. Almost. Yes, that one. Now just one more second. Let me just check this again.
Here, Ace. I'll be right back.
That's okay.
I might as well go with a French pronunciation. I somehow find that easier. Not in terms of that. No, whatever. Wait a second. Woo! Thank you. The London 47th Division, after a strenuous time on the Somme in September 1916, was sent to Ypres for a quiet spell. The depleted ranks being made up by reserves from home who joined us en route. The 18th Battalion London Irish were informed on taking the line that their opponents... What? Very well. Were men of the very same German regiment as they had opposed and vanquished at High Wood. Soon after standing down, the following morning, Rifleman S. mounted the fire step and, cupping his hands to his mouth, shouted... Wait, what the hell is that?
Compris I would. Yeah.
What?
It's a compris I would. In other words, understand I would.
Oh. Compris I would, Fritz. The words had hardly left his lips when zip, a sniper's bullet knocked his tin hat off his head, and Rifleman S. found himself lying on the duckboards with blood running down his face. Picking himself up, he calmly gathered his souvenirs together and said, as he made his way out, "Cheerio, boys, I've got a blighty one, but don't tell the Colonel, it was self-inflicted." Right, makes sense.
For those who don't know, Blighty One means he's going to be sent to Britain to recuperate in a hospital there.
Of course.
I mean, that's what happens
Usually bloody ones weren't really supposed to be crippling injuries, but they were injuries that you were supposed to be sent home for. So kind of in the $1 million wound territory, although slightly more severe, I suppose.
Hmm.
Guess that makes sense to a degree.
So yeah.
Just blood running down his face, and he just calmly just stands up and just, I'm going, bye guys. What a
I guess-
normal reaction.
Well, this is real education and all, but I'm fucked. So, goodbye.
Like I said, 1900 to the 1940s, where everybody was basically a Chad, no question.
Mm. So I think now that would mean Osbegon is next with Nobby's 1,000 to 1 chance.
Nobbies. I guess I'll. Let's see. Who's this written by?
I'm pretty sure since Calciel voiced the last one, it would be you.
Yeah. Alright. Our division, the third, was on its way from the line for a long looking for a rest. We were doing it by the road in easy stages. During a halt, a pack animal, with its loaded 2 boxes of 303, became restive and bolted. One box fell off and was being dragged by the lashing. Poor old Nobby Clark, who had been out since Mons, stopped the box with his leg, which was broken below the knee. As he was being carried away, one of the stretcher bearers said, "Well, Nobby, you've got a blighted one at last." "Yes," said Nobby, "but it took 1,000 rands to knock me over." H. Crupper, late 5th Fusiliers, 62 Honorly Road, Upper Norwood, SC, 19.
Absolute balls of steel on that man.
Oh,
Yeah.
move.
When they said that he's been out since Mons, that means that the Battle of Mons was one of the very first battles the British fought all the way back in 1914. So, this guy has been in for a long time by this point.
Wow. He's one of the OGs, basically.
Pretty much.
Impressive.
Alright, so let's see what we've got. Next one is shooting, and I believe that would be me voicing this one. Alright. There were no proper trenches in front of Armentières in this early December 1914, and a machine gun section was doing its best to build an emplacement and cover. It was in charge of a young Londoner who, in times of excitement, stuttered badly. Not being satisfied with the position of one sandbag, he hopped over those already in place, and in full view of Jerry, it was daylight too, began to adjust the sandbag that displeased him. Jerry immediately turned a machine gun on him, but the young officer finished his work and then stood up. Looking towards Jerry at the section, yelled to him to come down. He stuttered angrily, "I believe the blighters are shooting at me." At that moment, someone grabbed his legs and pulled him down. It was a fine example of cool nerve.
Are you sure that's cool nerve? I don't know.
Seemed pretty heated to me.
I think it's just kind of silly. Little bit of a nut to that one.
You're telling me? Worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Alright, so next one we have is Ancient Britain's No, and I believe that would be for you, Nathan.
Perfect.
It happened late in 1917 in Tank Avenue, just on the left of Monchy-le-Preux. It was a foul night of rain, wind, sleet, and whiz-bangs. My battalion had just been relieved, and we were making our way out as best we could down the miry communication trench. Every now and again, we'd had to halt and press ourselves against the trench side to allow a straggling working party of the KRRs to pass up into the line. Shells were falling all over the place, and suddenly Fritz dropped one right into the trench a few bays away from where I was. I hurried down and found 2 of the working party lying on the duckboards. They were both wounded, and one of them had his tunic ripped off him by the force of the explosion. What with his tattered uniform, and, well, what remained of it, and his face and bare chest smothered in mud, he was a comical, though pathetic sight. He still clung to his bundle of pickets and had been carrying... And as he sat up and looked around with a puzzled expression, one of our sergeants, or rather, a fisher's fellow, pushed himself forward. Who are you? Asked Kars. Of course, retorted the half-naked Cockney. Who do you think we was? Ancient Britons?
How nice.
I can
What
imagine
was
some
that?
dude just blown to shit, just dun 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 dun.
But I just remember, was it a quote by Caesar? Who was it that said, like, he's like, yes, I have seen many peoples from across the world, but none have to be uglier than the ancient Britons.
Yes, yeah, I think it was Caesar.
So stinky fellows living in swamps.
Gross.
Alright, so the next one, desert island near Bullecourt, and I believe that would be Jedi, correct?
Yep.
Alright.
Between the Acoust and Bellecourt in January 1918, my platoon was passing a mine carter, which was half full of water. When suddenly, Jerry sent one over. 6 of our fellows were wounded, and one of them, a bow-rowed Cockney, was hurled into a crater. He struggled to his feet and staggered towards a pile of rubble that rose above the muddy water like an island arrived there. He sat down, looked around him in bewilderment. Then, blimey, he muttered. Robinson Ruddy Crusoe. And I guess that's it.
Yeah, so got sent flying into a crater, decided to climb up to a little island in the crater, and then he thinks he's Robinson Crusoe.
Wow.
He'll have to build himself a nice hut.
Out of what?
Yes.
Question on that one.
They're just
All right.
literally out of water, because that would actually be impressive.
He
All
uses ice magic.
But then he'd be considered a witch.
Yeah, but witchcraft was not banned at that point, I don't think.
Witchcraft is an immense benefit to the war effort, gentlemen. We need more witches!
But sir, we can't allow women in our forces, remember?
You didn't ask!
Alright, so I think the next one we've got here is Tiger's Little Trick, and that, I think, Calcul, you're up again.
Hold on. Just a second. Oh, my.
Take all the time you need, old boy.
Old boy, I'm looking for the pronunciation of that word. That
Which
did
one?
not give me the results I was looking for. What? Hold on, one more time. What the hell did I read there?
You mean Wingine, Belgium?
Yeah, it definitely isn't going to be pronounced like that, so I want to be very sure that I'm doing it correct.
Okay.
Because I do it!
I mean, we haven't been pronouncing everything 100% accurately this
I
whole
mean,
stream.
This is me! I am me, and I do things like this.
Yes, he's artistically
I bet-
obsessed with language and pronunciation and shit.
Trust me, I'm like that, only with railroads.
I don't think there's a...
Nerds.
I
Fuck
think
you.
I know how to pronounce it, even though it doesn't give me a transcription. Very well. Wait, on October 11th to 12th, 1914, during the Mall Retreat, a small party of 2nd lifeguards were told off as outposts on the main road near Wingen, Belgium. After we had tied our horses behind a farmhouse and to the side of the road, we settled down to await the arrival of Jerry. Time went slowly, and one of our troopers suggested that we all put a half-franc into an empty bully tin, and the first one of us who shot a German was to take the lot. To this we all agreed. It was about midnight then, when suddenly, out of the shadows, rode a German death's head hussar. Ooh, spicy. We all raised our rifles as one man, but before we could shoot, Tiger Smith, one of our real Cockney troopers, shouted, "Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" During our momentary hesitation, Tiger's rifle rang out, and off rolled the German into the road. Upon our indignant inquiry as to why he had shouted, "Don't shoot," Tiger quietly said that, "Nah, then one of you old bucks. None of you old bucks. Just hand over that tin of that francs I've won."
That one is a
Human
little
rights.
cheap.
Human rights. What the fuck are they? Give me those francs, boy.
What is a human right, and why should I abide by it?
I do gotta say that basically what he did there, I've seen happen in MMOs. It's like, guys, hold on, wait, there's a mob coming. Everybody turns, and while they do, the guy ninja loots the boss.
Base.
It's like, you cunt.
See, that's exactly why I don't play MMOs right there.
This guy was doing ninja looting long before fucking fucking night elf and undead rogues back in WoW vanilla.
That has to be Captain Zoom himself. Man's the best at distraction.
All right.
Honestly, something I could picture.
Go ahead.
Never mind. Never mind. I'll tell you after.
Uh,
Next story.
I'm just going to read the comments here real quick.
Hmm.
All right, so Siege says, there was a point that one reaches that is past pain and exhaustion. This is the stage these men have reached. Yeah, probably. Yeah. TBA says, fun fact, World War I was why Scots stopped using kilts in their battle dress uniforms. Turns out blister ages plus kilts are not a happy combination. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially in World War I. If you're very familiar with mustard gas, you know exactly why that's not a good combination. Siege is laughing. TBA I'm guessing this is from some of the other stories, and TBA says, if the Belgians wanted people to care about their pronunciation, they'd pick one language and stick with it.
Good point. Not a bad point at all. But
Siege, you don't know any chill, bro.
That was TBA.
I mean, the
that
Belgians-
said that.
I admire that about you, but still. No chill.
I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the Belgians wore top hats. They didn't get too affected by mustard gas.
Well, okay, so here's the thing about here's the problem with mustard gas and why you don't want to wear kilts with it. Mustard gas, in particular, really likes to affect areas where there's moisture built up. So,
Smitty balls.
yes, especially, but also
Quite literally.
armpits will. So it would especially blister up in the armpits. The one thing the mask did protect you was the eyes and the mouth and all that because, well, naturally mustard gas, if it got in there, would have a really nasty time with it. But the groin areas, well, was especially susceptible. And
I mean, at least the only benefit to mustard gas is at least the blinding was, for the most part, temporary.
There is bizarrely enough, there is one other technical thing. Mustard gas treats cancer, of all things.
Really?
Yeah. It was actually discovered after the war when some guys that had cancer apparently just didn't, and they figured it out that it was the mustard gas that had actually treated them. So they ended up then creating a watered-down version of mustard gas and used that in basically started chemotherapy that way. That's how chemotherapy got started.
Oh,
I guess I need to understand.
Interesting.
Because the thing is, cancer is when your cells rapidly divide out of control. Like the process of cell division completely breaks down, and that's what cancer is effectively. It's when the cells divide uncontrollably due to some kind of anomaly in your genetics. Now, chemotherapy. I'm not sure, like, how mustard gas. I don't know. Maybe I do. To be fair, I don't know the exact chemical makeup of mustard gas, but I'm not sure how that treats that.
I
Well,
just think chemotherapy is questionable for the most part. Because, I mean, I see the benefits, but it's also got its complications.
I mean, so does not treating it at all.
yeah.
It's like, oh, well, chemotherapy is questionable, but so we shouldn't do it. It's like, oh, okay. Sorry, patient, you now need to die. Because we shouldn't treat it now.
It's like having a gangrenous
questionable.
arm. Like, gangrenous arm? Should we cut it off? Nah, let it stay on. It could be. You could bleed out if we don't. If we cut it off.
What insanity.
But yeah, mustard gas, unironically, has been known to cure cancer, which is ironic when you think about it.
It's like, I can barely see and breathe, but I don't have that lung cancer anymore.
Yeah, great.
I think this balanced out.
All right.
I found a map of population density in Europe, by the way. I just look at my own country and I'm like, oh my, that is a very... That is terrible. There's barely any people here. Which makes sense.
I'm sure traffic isn't a bitch.
No, it usually isn't, unless you're... Well, actually, in the area I live, it's not great.
All right, so I think we're back to Asbagon here. And the next one is check us your nameplate. Nameplate being an old-time word name for dog tags.
In June 1970, we were ordered to lay a line to the front. We were allowed to lay a line to the front line at Plug Street. Fritz started to bombard us with whiz-bangs, and my pal and I took cover behind a heap of sandbags, noticing at the same time that all the infantrymen were getting away from the spot. When things quieted down, we heard a Cockney voice shouting, "Oi, mate! Chuck us your nameplate!" Identification disc. "You're sitting up against a bomb store!" Sedost, I think S is... No, because Sergeant Brief would be SGT. I don't know, so S, doused, late signal section, F, battery, RHA.
Well, that's a bit of a rude awakening to realize how you're where they keep all their grenades.
It's a funny way to tell them, though.
Yeah.
It's like, I could just say, guys, you're where the bombs are. Instead, it's like, I'm going to actually take this opportunity to be funny.
All right. So I think the next one is out of bounds in the line, and that would be me. One night in October 14, in the neighborhood of Erlies, Ginger, a reservist, was sent out to call in the men of a listening post. Dawn came, but no Ginger returned, and as he did not turn up during the day, he was given up for lost. Soon after dusk, however, a very worn and fed-up Ginger returned. We gathered he had suddenly found himself in the German lines, had had a dust-up, had gotten away, and had lain out in no man's land until dusk allowed him to get back. The company officer was inclined to be cross with him, and asked him, "But what made you go so far as the enemy position?" Ginger scratched his head and then replied, "Well, sir, nobody said anything about it being out of bounds."
Well,
It's like, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't go there, you know.
It's a little reverse psychology.
And the best part is you got to know the commander probably took a breath, like he wasn't sure how to respond, just like open mouth, like, wait a minute. I didn't tell him he couldn't go there. Shit.
So technically,
That is cheeky, though. It's like, oh, you didn't tell me I couldn't go there. So fuck you.
All right, so I think Nathan is up for the next one, and it is Returns the Penny.
When my husband commanded the 41st Division in France, he was much struck by the ready wit of a private of the Royal Fusiliers, City of London Regiment, in a tight corner. A bomb landed in a crowded dugout while the men were having a meal. Everybody stared aghast at this ball of death except one Tommy, who promptly picked it up and flung it outside, saying, Great strength returns the penny, gentlemen. As he returns to his bully beef.
He didn't give a shit.
Basically just said,
fuck
fuck you, pulled the Uno reverse card. Fuck you, I'm eating.
Please.
Just bitch slap wife when he comes home from the war. He's like, fuck you, I need a sandwich. Or
Fucking-
fuck you, I need a hoagie.
Fucking like really offended that Jerry doesn't understand the rules of war. You don't fuck with a man when he's eating.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The fundamental rules of war. You don't fuck with a man when he's eating. You don't fuck with a man when he's on the pot.
You
And
don't ruin my pot
preferably-
noodle, you cunt. Fuck off.
You don't fuck with a man when he's committing war crimes.
Yep. All right. So Nathan read that one. So I think the next one is Jedi. You're up again, and the next one is Logic in No Man's Land.
Alright. Just give me a minute because my phone just did something. I can scroll back down. Alright. And Logic in No Man's Land. Ah, here we are. Brits have been knocking out a wire about. Fritz had been knocking our wire about, and a party of us were detailing to repair it. One of our party, a trifle more windy than the rest, kept ducking at the stray bullets that were whistling by. Finally, Herb, who was holding the coil of wire, said to him, Can't you stop that bobbling about? They won't hurt you unless it's you. They won't hurt you unless it's you. I think we see where this is going.
Yeah, Don't worry, they're only bullets.
They won't kill you unless you drops dead.
All right. Oh,
You can't kill a cop.
Here's another one. Okay, so I got another good one for you. Next up is Not Meant for Him, and I think Calcul, you're up. You're going to have a kick out of this one, I think.
Where's that one? Oh, there we go. There it is. Any complicated, not English words that I have to read?
So no, you're doing a good Irishman, though.
Yeah, he's
no,
getting
no.
his Lucky Charms on, you know.
Lucky Charms! Race
Lucky
laddies, let's fucking go!
He found a box in No Man's Land and now he's fucking tossing them back.
Alright, get back to your
Cheeky
corner.
bastard.
Alright, get back to your corner. Potato eating drunks. You potato eating gold digging drunks.
Hey, you will not disrespect the gold digging.
Aha, I am Irish, so I can make fun of it.
So am I. And the gold digging is a sense of pride.
We have no grenades in this regiment, we only have booze, and we throw them at the enemy, because they can't fight us if they're drunk out their arse.
Yes, or if the big-breasted women come to us first.
What? Where the fuck that come from? Oh,
Oh, well.
Out of nowhere.
All right, so
out of the trenches. The stormtroopers. Right, wait, no, that's not it. Anyways, yes. Wait, hold on.
it's Not Meant for Him.
Ilfe, okay, Essex, right, that's definitely England. At the end of September 1917, my regiment, the 5th Seaforth Highlanders, were troubled by bombing raids by enemy aircraft at the unhealthy regularity of 1 raid per hour. We were under canvas at siege camp in the Ypres sector, and being near to a battery of large guns, we were on visiting terms with some of the gunners, who were for the most part London men. A Lewisham man was writing a letter in our tent one day, when we again had the tip that the Germans were flying towards us, so we all scattered. After the raid, we returned to our tent and were surprised to see our artillery friend still writing his letter. We asked him whether he had stayed there the whole time, and in reply, he read us the following passage from his letter which he had written during the raid. As I wrote this letter, Jerry's bombing the jocks, but although I'm in their camp, being a Londoner, I suppose the raid is not meant for me, and I feel quite safe. Very, very wise words from our gentleman here.
Those are words that are probably going to come back to bite you in the arse.
No, how could that happen? Impossible.
Never say never.
W. Abel, MM, 20... No, how did I read? Wrong direction. This is not German. 62nd Norman Road, Ilford, Essex.
Alright. So, Osmagana, I believe you're back for another one. And
which one?
The one that you're going to be doing now is Attack in the Birthday Clothes.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, kinky.
Alright. We came out of the line on the night of June 14 to 15, 1917, to bivvies at Morey after a hot time from both Fritz and Weather at Bullecourt. When dawn broke, we were astonished and delighted to see a bath. Whilst we were in the line, our pioneers had a brainwave, dug a hole in the ground, lined it with tarpaulin, sheet, and filled it with water. As our last bath was at Archit Le Petit 6 weeks before. Is that French?
Yeah, I think it's Archit Le Petit, but whatever. It's French, who fucking cares?
Also 6 weeks.
That's a long time not to go without a bath.
Ew.
6 weeks before. There was a tremendous crowd waiting mit noddings on because there was standing room only for about 20 in the bath. Whilst you gotta understand that water probably looked like sewage.
It was.
Whilst ablutions were in progress, an aeroplane was heard, but no notice was taken because it was flying so low. One of ours, everybody thought. When it came nearer, there was a shout. "Shruth, it's a Jerry plane!" Bats were off for the moment, and there was a stampede to the bivvies for rifles. It was the funniest thing in the world to see fellows running about in their birthday suits, plus only tin hats, taking pot shots at the aeroplane. Even Fritz and that seemed surprised, because it was some moments before he replied with his machine gun. We watched him fly away back to his own lines, and a voice broke the silence. "Blinking food to be put on our tin hats! Otherwise, old Fritz..." Oh, sorry. "Otherwise, old Fritz wouldn't have known, but we might be Germans." I often wonder if any other battalions had the honor of attacking the enemy clad only in tin hats. GM Rampton, late 12th London Regiment Rangers.
So basically,
God.
it's about a bunch of soldiers that were fighting in the nude.
Well,
Yep.
at least they had both their guns out.
Shooting both their loads.
This is my rifle, this is my gun.
God.
No, it's just the weird thing is, like you said about the water being sewage. I mean, take into account, hygiene and sanitation were not a thing back then.
Well, they actually were by this point. It's just the conditions in the front line were enough that you can't really reliably bathe in the front lines because, well, everything from water and what have you had to be carried up there.
I think there were some cases of people actually having to bathe in the middle of battle.
Well, I know one thing that they used to use as an alternative to soap. Some soldiers were known for using gasoline instead of soap to...
Ugh.
It's gotta get rid of the bacteria.
Yeah, but
your
you're near
fucking skin.
explosives. One spark and you'll go up in flames.
Yeah. So, I know that was a thing, but yeah, anyways, so, yeah, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that one. Here we go. I'm up next, and it's an expert on shells. I think it might actually... here we go. All right, so there we are. We were billeted in the vaults of Ypres Post Office towards dusk of a summer's day in 1916. 4 of us were lounging at the top of the vault stairs, discussing the noise made by very different shells. Jerry, a Cockney, was saying, "Yes, you can always tell biggins, they shuffles," and went on to demonstrate with the shh 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 shh. When someone said, "Listen!" there was the real sound, coming straight for us. We dived or fell to the bottom of the stairs, followed by a terrific crump right in the entrance, which was completely blocked up. Every candle and lamp was blown out. We were choking with dust and showered with bricks and masonry. There was a short silence, and Jerry's voice from the darkness said, "There you are. What did I tell you?"
These guys got into some really crazy shenanigans aside from battles.
This is why they based orcs on these people.
I know. You always have. That's a thing.
Throughout all these stories, it's just like the balls on these guys is just so admirable. It's just like middle fingers to every situation.
Honestly, they always show the more depressing sides of war. Why not show the more lighthearted stuff like this? Because there were shenanigans.
To be fair, like I think that might unfortunately result in more people being like, "Oh, war's not a big deal." Then the reason a lot of media and like books and novels and stuff like hit you over the head with like war is bad is because it is like what would be better if these guys were sitting around at a pub and making jokes over something actually lighthearted, or making jokes in these really dire situations. I think most people would prefer it if. Yeah, so it's like you don't want to make war sound nice.
No.
So that's why a lot of books and movies and shit hit you over the head with war is bad shit. It can get really annoying, don't get me wrong. Trust me, I get that too.
Like I said, I just feel like a lot of the time it comes across as overdramatic.
Oh, it is, 100%. They hit you over the head way too much nowadays with this shit.
So I think that Nathan is up for the next one, and it is great stuff, this shrapnel.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, no, it is. What the fuck? I'm confused now. Sorry.
Oh.
During the retreat from Mons, it was the cavalry's work to hold up the Germans as long as possible, to allow our infantry to get into position. One day, we had a good way to run to our horses, being closely pursued by the Germans. When we reached them, we were all more or less out of breath. A little Cockney was so winded that he could hardly reach his stirrup, which kept slipping from under his foot. Just then, a shrapnel shell burst directly overhead, and the Cockney, without using his stirrup, vaulted clean into the saddle. As we galloped off, he gasped, "Blimey, only put new life in you. They're as good as the Crucians." Man just narrowly escaped death. Was like, fuck it, a quip. Should be good.
Yeah.
Balls of steel.
Well, I mean, if he was a meter to the right or the left, he would have had balls of steel, I'd argue.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next one, let's see. I think you're up again, Jedi. And yep, you are. And this one's another, well, I'll leave this one for you. It's called the Garden of Eden.
The Garden of Eden?
Yep. Or in
Where
the Garden
is...
of Eden.
There it is.
We had reached the district in Mespot, reputed to be the Garden of Eden, or reported to be the Garden of Eden. One evening, I was making my way with the six men to relieve the guard on some ammunition barrages laying by the bank of the Tigris. We had approached to within about 100 yards of these Turks. 100 yards when these Turks started sending over some long ranges. The 6 shells scored direct a hit on the center barrage. And within a few seconds, the whole lot went up in what seemed like the greatest explosion of all time. apart from being knocked over with the shock, we escaped injury with the exception of a Cockney in our company. Most of his clothes, except his boots, have been stripped from his body, and his back was bleeding. Slowly, he struggled to get on his hands and knees, surveying his nakedness. Said, "Now where'd that blinking fig tree go?" Really, you just had all of your clothes blown off, and all you can think about is a goddamn fig tree?
I mean, you're in the Garden of Eden, so...
Yeah, what you would consider the Garden of Eden. We don't know yet if it's the actual one.
That was actually pretty clever. Like he knows his bollocks he's showing, so he's like, "Ah, fuck, I'm gonna need that fig leaf now."
Just make a big skirt.
Alright, so... conveniently, the next one is for Calcul here, and it's the very next one, which is Santa Claus in a Hurry.
Oh yes. Freaking Santa. What the hell are those words? Oh well, let me begin. A forward observation officer of the artillery was on duty. Yeah, I'm reading the right one. Yeah, keeping what on Watling Crater, Vimy Ridge, towards the end of 1916. The observation post was the remains of a house, very much battered. The officer had to crawl up what had once been a large fireplace, where he had the protection of the only piece of wall that remained standing. He was engrossed on his task when the arrival of a Mini shook the foundation of the place, and down he came in a shower of bricks and mortar, with his shrapnel helmet not at the regimental angle. A couple of Cockney Tommies had also made a dive for the shelter of his pile of bricks, and were crouching down when the officer crawled from the fireplace. "Quick, Joe," said one of the Cockneys. "Hang up your socks! Here comes old Santa Claus!"
Wow.
Man, what a day! We meet Santa himself.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Yay!
Hey.
Hold on. It's also towards the end of 1916, so yeah, very good timing. Was A.J. Robinson, late Sergeant, RFA, 21 Crowders Road, Catford, SE6.
Alright. So, I believe Osmegon, you're up next. And yours is A Target But No Offers.
Alrighty. Okay. I guess I'll do more posh this time. Why not? During the Battle of the Somme in September 1916, our lowest gun post was a little loop trench jutting out from the front line at a place called, I believe, Lone Tree, just before Cumbles. Jerry's front line was not many yards away, and it was a very warm spot. Several casualties had occurred during the morning through sniping, and one enterprising chap had scored a bullseye on the top of our periscope. Things quieted down a bit in the afternoon, and about 4 p.m. our captain, who already had the MC, came along and said to our corporal, "I believe the Germans have gone." A Cockney member of our team, overhearing this, said, "Well, it won't take long to find out." Jumping upon the fire step, exposed himself from the waist upwards above the parapet. After a minute's breathless silence, he turned to the captain and said, with a jerk of his thumb, They've hopped it, sir." That night, we and our French friends entered Cumbles.
Well, that went well.
Yes.
How to check if Germans are nearby, just stand up and expose yourself.
Just be like, take a peek up and see if he's still there. Righto. Guns
like-
fire. He's still there. Still lurking about.
Alright, so it looks like I'm up next, and it's That Other Sort of Rain that I'm going to be reading. I think it might be... it's going to... Yeah, it skipped ahead a little bit to down here. So That Other Sort of Rain. We are doing our...
There it is.
Alright. We were out doing a spot of wiring near Ypres, and the Germans evidently got to know about it. A few stars went up, and then the rat-a-tat of machine guns told us more than we wanted to know. We dived for shell holes. Anybody who knows the place will realize we didn't have far to dive. I found myself beside a man who, in the middle of somewhat unhealthy period, found time to soliloquize. Knocked a bit right out of me tinat. I thought I copped it that time. Look, I can get me little finger through the hole. Blimey, I hope it don't rain. I shall get me head all wet.
Priorities.
Yep. Get your priorities straight, you're set for life.
I absolutely love all these stories, and when it like starts writing down all like the Cockney slang, I just love watching you guys just try and pronounce it. It's fucking brilliant.
I know. Should we be ashamed
How
of
am I
it?
doing, Mr. British man?
I'll leave it till later. But you did
Should we be
good.
Alright, so on that subject, I believe that you're up again, Nathan, and yours is Sentry's Sudden Relief.
I was the next turn on guard at a battery position in Armenteries one evening in the summer of 1917. A Cockney chum, who I was going to relieve, was patrolling the position when suddenly overcame a 5-9 which blew him out about 4 yards away. As he scrambled to his feet, our sergeant of the guard came along, and my chum's first words were, "Sorry, sergeant, for deserting me post."
I mean, what more to really say on that one?
I don't know what to say. It's interesting.
Certified English moment.
It's one of those things that just leaves you speechless.
Private David, what is Private Thomas? About 2 miles that way?
Just argue over
Jake.
directions.
Yeah, just... sorry, sir, I've abandoned my position.
Alright.
Imagine if it was the Americans.
It'd be interesting. I know there's at least one American story, or one story or two with the Americans in this book somewhere, though I don't have it on the list, I don't think. But anyways, so I do believe the next person that's up is Jedi, and yours is The World Kept Turning.
Alright. The Proporgan just pitched. Among those wounded was a Cockney who noted for his rendering of every possible occasion of well-known songs. Let the big world keep turning. He was laying there on the roadway, severely hurt. Another Cockney went up to him and said, "Hello, mate. Hello, matey. Why ain't you singing 'Little Great Big World Keep Turning', eh?" The reply came, "I was singing on it, Bill, but I never thought I would fly up and hit me."
The world is an angry boy.
Indeed. So I think the next one here is for you, Calcul, and it's The Sergeant's Tears.
Here we go. One afternoon on the Somme, our battery received a severe strafe from 5.9s and tear gas shells. There was no particular stunt on, so we took a cover in a trench behind the guns. When the strafe had finished, we found our gun resting on one wheel, with sights and shields smashed by a direct hit. There was tear gas hanging about too, and we all felt anything but cheerful. Myself and detachment were summarily standing around looking at the smashed gun, and I was wiping tears from my eyes. Smithley, our bright Walworth lad, said, "Don't cry, Sergeant." What am I reading here?
It's Cockney for bound, so band.
The band, they give us over.
They're bound to give us another.
Another, right, sorry. I can barely read, you see. No, that's a lie. But still.
I mean, to be fair, that's in a pretty thick accent, but yeah.
Blimey. Sergeant.
Alright, so the next one is orders, and I believe that is for you, Asmagon.
Alright, orders is orders. When I was with the 6th Dorset at Uge, a party of us under a Cockney Lance Jack was sent down the Menin Road to draw rations. It seemed as though the Germans knew we were waiting at the corner, for they were dropping shells all around us. After a while, a voice in the darkness cried, "Don't stay there, you chaps! That's Hellfire Corner!" "Can't help it, Governor," replied our Lance Jack. "Hellfire Corner, or a Heaven's Delight. We gotta stop here till our rations comes up." H.W. Butler, late 6th Dorset.
Man's wanted food.
Short and sweet and understandable. Like, I'm fucking hungry. Fuck off. I don't care if hell's raining down if I get my chicken nuggies.
Nuggies.
Although it
Now
is
your
World War
Doritos
I,
and get me
so...
fucking fried chicken.
It is
Now get your
World War...
Doritos and get me a...
Sorry. It's World War I,
saying-
so they would have been issued hardtack and bully beef. Or corned beef.
Well,
It's good enough to keep you alive.
Or they could just do what they did to the Irish and steal more potatoes. Like, just say, "Hey, Ireland, we need more food. Give us your potatoes."
Haters.
And
No one's gonna get me taters.
so, next one we got, and it's for me, is Ginger's gun stopped. Alright. I was in a Lewis gun section, and our sergeant got on our nerves while we were learning the gun by always drumming in our ears about different stoppages of the gun when in action. My mate, Ginger Bryant, who lived at Stepney, could never remember the stops, and our sergeant was always rousing the poor old Ginger. Well, we found ourselves one day in front line, and the Jerry had started an attack. Ginger was number 1 on the gun, and I was laying beside him as number 2. We were giving Jerry beans with our gun when a bomb hit it directly and blew Ginger and myself yards away. Ginger had his hand blown off, but crawled back to the gun, which was smashed to pieces. He gave one look at it and shouted to me, "Now go and ask that blinking sergeant what number stoppage he calls this one." Next thing, he fainted.
Ouch.
Well
I'm staying
timed.
conscious just long enough to say this. Fuck you.
The man had to hit them with that finishing line with the perfect comedic timing.
Yeah, just be like, "Go do this for me." He's like, "Feck off." Just pull the old Father Jack.
I kind
And
of
now-
feel like you can end half of these with just the Curb Your Enthusiasm, just dun 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 dun.
Yeah, some of these are definitely in that line. Definitely.
And now, also, we have a Cockney pirate. Actually, that's pretty much all pirates. Never mind.
All right, so I believe, Nathan, you're up next, and yours is In Fine Feather.
While in the Somme in 1916, my battery was sent to a rest in a village behind the line. The billet allotted to us had been a hotel, and all the furniture, including bedsteads and feather mattresses, had been stored in the room which did duty as an orderly room. Returning one day from exercise, we saw a flight of enemy planes coming over. As we approached the billet, a bomb was dropped straight through the roof of our building, the sole occupant of which, at the time, was a Cockney signaller on duty, in touch with the brigade headquarters. We hurried forward, expecting to find that our signaller had been killed. The orderly room was a scene of indescribable chaos. Papers were everywhere, files and returns were mixed up with iron rations, while in a corner of the room was a pile of feathers about 4 feet deep. All that remained of the feather mattress. Of our signaller, there was no sign. As we looked around, however, his head appeared from beneath the feather pile. His face was streaming with blood, and he looked more dead than alive. But as he surveyed his temporary resting place, a grin spread over his features, and he picked up a handful of feathers. "Blimey," he observed. "I must have it in a blinking sparrow."
Probably.
That's gotta be a big one.
Yeah.
At least you had protection.
Yeah, a little bit. On that subject, I believe you are up again, Jedi, and yours is Teacup in a Storm.
Uh-oh. We were all in support of the trenches near Harvancourt Wood in September 1917 at midday. It was exceptionally quiet. There is a rule. Titch, our little Cockney cook, proceeded one day to make us some tea by the aid of 4 candles and a funk hole. To aid this fire, he added the usual bit of oily waste, and thereby caused a thin trail of smoke to rise. The water was just on the boil when Jerry stopped our smoke and let the fly in its direction everything he had handy. The trench was battered flat. We threw ourselves into a couple of old communication trenches. Looking around presently for our cook, we found him sitting beneath the waterproof sheets, calmly enjoying his Sergeant Major's tea. "Ain't none of you blokes thirsty?" was his greeting. That's basically a response.
Just sit there and keep drinking your tea while the shelling is going on.
Very British.
Yes, when there's tea involved, you know it's British.
When there's Yorkshire gold to be drank, there is no time to worry about shelling. Priorities.
Oh, you've been spending too much time around Ball, Yorkshire Gold's arse.
No, that's my brother-in-law.
What? Oh, well, fine. His opinion's arse. Then Tetley's the better one.
I already don't. Like, thing is, I already don't value his opinion too much. Because we spend like half, like in the morning, this is literally our relationship at this point. Good morning. Good morning. So you know Britain is ass, right? And he went, yeah, America's ass too. And then we spend like an hour and a half trading barbs, and then my sister, his wife, comes out and says, "Why do you guys fight all the time?" And we both look at her in utter confusion. What are you talking about? This is how we get along.
All right.
By fighting each other and giving verbal abuse.
Oh yeah, it's almost always nationally based. That or I mock him for being what is it? A certain denomination of Christianity. It's kind of preachy.
Mormon? No.
No.
Mormons, not Catholic.
Orthodox. Russian Orthodox.
Really?
Huh.
That's
Yes,
odd.
I mock him all the time for that. Because they do like so much prayer. Like it's 3 times a day. They're required to pray before a meal and after a meal. They go to church. They like to anyway. 3 times a week. and like right before bed and when they get up in the morning, they have to basically do a chant. So like when we're getting into a debate, I'm like, go do another prayer chant. You're gonna need to after we stop cussing each other out.
Hmm.
All right. So
Like, at least you don't have to take a
Actually,
knife to his body.
Yet
Yet.
it's getting there.
So the next one we have is for Calcul, and it is, well, he ain't done in, see?
There we go. Hold on.
The one
No,
above
I'm
it I
kidding.
can't really show because it's got a gamer word in it.
Oh?
The one above it, so you're fine.
We're only just encountering those.
Oh! Ha! Oh my. Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh my. Yes. God, this is a long one. Let's go.
Yeah, Ace, I see your point on that.
What the heck? I don't know what that is. Very well. Oh, never mind. Anyhow,
Yeah,
during the Great German Offensive in March 1918, our company was trying to hold the enemy at Albert. What a nice place. Name. Yes. My platoon was in an old trench in front of Albert Station and was in rather a tight corner, the casualties getting pretty heavy. A runner managed to get through to us with a message. He asked our sergeant to send a man to another platoon with a message. One of my pals, named Gordon, shouted, "Give it to me, I'll go." He crept out of the trench and up a steep incline and over the other side, and was apparently being peppered by machine gun fire all the way. No surprise there. We had little hope of him ever getting there. About a couple of hours later, another Cockney cried, "Blimey, he's coming back!" We could see him now, crawling towards us. What am I reading? He got within a dozen yards of our trench, and then a Jerry coal box arrived. It knocked us to the mud at the bottom of our trench and seemed to blow Gordon, together with a ton or so of earth, 20 feet in the air, and he came down in the trench. "That's done the poor blighting," said the other Cockney as he rushed to him. To our surprise, Gordon spoke. "Well, he ain't done in, see?" He'd got the message to the other platoon, and was little the worse for his experience of being blown skyward. I think that brave fellow's deeds was one of many that had to go unrewarded. Unfortunate. In Nachbau, yeah, late 7th Suffolk's 4th Burnham Road, St. Albans, Herts. I like the name of the town too. Very nice town, named Albert, yes. The man, everyone loves Albert, yes.
So the guy got sent flying by an artillery shell 20 feet into the air and is able to escape with hardly a scratch on him.
I think God wants him alive for a reason.
Yeah.
You are my greatest clown.
I am on a mission from God.
Yeah, that's not the right one.
What?
Never mind. I'm thinking of the same thing.
I think that works.
Oh, well, fair enough.
Speaking of missions from God, the next one comes from the Holy Land, and I believe you are up Osmagan, and the story is called The Stocking Bomb.
From the
Oh, Jerusalem.
Wait, did I scroll past it?
It's
Above the artwork, but yeah, below the other one that we just read.
From the Holy Land.
No. The specific thing is the Stocking Bomb. It's called the Stocking Bomb.
Oh,
I was saying it was from the Holy Land because it's in the Middle East.
Okay, that confused me because I was
Sorry,
looking for one called from.
My,
I was
my
scrolling. I was like, did I miss?
My
Okay.
bad.
Okay. We were desert mobile column, halfway across the Sinai Peninsula from the Kantara to Gaza. Gaza. Turkish airplanes paid us a daily visit and pelted us with homemade stocking bombs. Old socks filled with nails, old iron, and explosives. On this particular day, we were being bombed, and a direct hit on our gunner's shoulder knocked him to the ground, but failed to explode. Sitting up in pain, he blinked at the stocking bomb and then at the plane and shouted, "Nah, chuck us your blinking boots, Dan!" He then fainted and we helped him, but could not resist a broad smile.
Poor chap.
That's funny though. It's like you got pelted by a sock.
Yep.
It's like next time just give us your damn boot.
They hit him with a cum sock. He'll never recover from this.
I'm traumatized.
The worst PTSD.
Alright, so the next one is mine, and it is a story without an ending. Alright.
And that's probably why it didn't blow, is because something already got blown in it.
Yep.
Sorry, it's too easy.
Fair enough. Alright, story without ending. Our gun position lay just behind the anchor, and Fritz generally strafed us for an hour or two each day, starting about the same time. When the shell came over, we used to take cover in a disused trench. One day, when the strafe began, I grabbed 2 story magazines just before we went to the trench and arrived there, handing one to my Cockney pal. We had both been reading for some time when a shell burst uncomfortably near, and a splinter hit my pal's book and shot it right out of his hand. At which he exclaimed, "Fritz, you blighter! I'll never know now whether he's going to marry the girl or cut her bloomin' throat."
That was sudden.
That was pretty dark.
Well, he didn't actually get hit, it just hit the book out of his hand.
Yeah, it is basically a romantic novel. Possibly a murder mystery.
It's like, damn it, damn it, Fritz, now I'll never get aroused.
My hentai. You destroyed my fucking hentai, you fuckers.
It was a good one, too.
Don't mess with a man's porn, you fucker.
Especially if she has oversized boobs.
Badonkadonk.
Alright, so next one we have, Nathan, you're up, and for you've got cause and effect.
A 5-9 had burst on the parados of our trench and caused, as 5-9s usually did, a bit of a mess. A brand new officer came around the trench, saw the damage, and asked, "Whatever caused this mess?" Without the slightest suspicion of a smile, a Cockney private answered, "An explosive bullet, sir."
Pretty based.
Mm-hmm. Alright. I think the next one is a little bit further down. Yeah, it is it is definitely further down. So the next one is for you, Jedi, and that it's called The Pub That Opened Punctually.
Alright, just give me a second to find it. Smudger's tattoo, importance of a miss. No. What was it called again?
Pub That Opened Punctually.
Ah, found it. It was at the village, the Zud Creek, where Fritz had bombed and blown up a dump in 1916. My pal and I were standing outside a cafe, the windows of which were shuttered when the blast of the terrific explosion blew the shutters. They hit my pal and me in the head and knocked us into the roadway. My pal picked himself up and, shaking bits of broken glass off him and holding a badly gashed head, said, "Lummy, Ginger, they don't off open up quickly enough. Let's go and have one."
So, thoughts, anyone?
It was good, I guess.
I agree. Yeah, it's a decent one. All right, so I think the next one might even be another one case of it being a little bit further down. Yes, it is. You're up, Osmond? Or no, it's Calcul that's up next.
Calcul.
All right, and you're going to be reading that infernal drip, drip, drip.
All right. I understand why you passed by Calcul. I mean, after all, the Swedes are very easy to forget.
Sorry.
Unless you're Abba.
Where the...
It was just
No. So went way too far. God, I've got myself in some kind of a situation here. There it is. Right. Perfect. Hold up. There we go. Nope, there. So, that infernal drip, drip, drip. We were trying to sleep in a half dugout that was roofed with a waterproof sheet. Quail and I, it was a dark, wet night. I had hung a mess tin on a nail to catch the water that dripped through, partly to keep it off my head, also to provide water for an easy shave in the morning. A strafe began. The night was illuminated by hundreds of vivid flashes, and shells of all kinds burst about us. The dugout shook with the concussions. Trench mortars, rifle grenades, and machine gun fire contributed to the din. Quail, who never had the wind up, was shifting his position and turning from one side to the other. "What's the matter?" asked my chum. "Can't you sleep?" "Sleep? How the hell we can... Oh, God. Read correctly. How the hell can a bloke sleep with that infernal drip, drip, drip going on? He couldn't handle the drip, guys. Damn.
So
Rough time.
That's another thing, apparently, for a lot of veterans, is it gets to the point where a lot of guys will tune out the explosions and whatnot when they're trying to sleep, but the dripping from the from the rain into the tin was apparently keeping him up.
The rumble from the explosions, I'm sure, just kind of turned into background noise, but the dripping probably wasn't heard as much, and it was also more of a direct ping by them.
Yeah, just like doink, doink, doink. Ah!
It's the gentle rumble of the explosions is like when you're being wagged to sleep in your cradle as a child. It's very relaxing.
Yep.
That sound, no, sir.
All right, so Osmogon, you're up, and yours is Bo Peep 1915 version.
Bo Peep.
Oh, this could mean one of two things.
Oh, it is. All right, this will probably have to be my last one because I gotta go.
Well, we're actually getting close to the end of the list I've got up anyway, so.
All right. Fuck it, I'll do an Irish accent, even though it's totally wrong and uncalled for. In 1950, a Free Court copper, Kingsland, of our regiment, the 7th Royal West Surreys, was on sentry on a fire step in the front line. At this period of the war, steel elements were not in use. Our cap badge was in the form of a lamb. A Fritz sniper registered a hit through Kingsland's hat, cutting the tail portion of the lamb away. After he had pulled himself together, Copper surveyed his cap badge and remarked, on the last kit inspection, I reported to the sergeant that your was lost, and now I shall, after tell him that when Bob Peep found your god damn the way it's written, I want to also read it like in the orc accent. Find you wagging your blooming tail off in gratitude. Spot. Haifu Farley Road, Selsden, Surrey. Good God. That was written thick.
Alright, so I got another one. Okay, this one I'm going to be reading is A Very Hot Bath. This is going to be, this is another case of pucker factor. During the retreat of the remnants of the Fifth Army in March 1918, 2 of our 6 howitzers of the Honorable Artillery Company were in action in some deserted horse line outside Peronne. During a lull, Gunner A Londoner like the rest of us, went scrounging in some nearby cottages recently abandoned by their inhabitants. He reappeared carrying a large zinc bath, and after filling it with water from the horse pond, he made a huge bonfire with broken tables and other furniture and set the bath on the fire. Just when the water had been heated, Fritz opened out with 5 9s. As we were not firing just then, we all took cover, with the exception of Gunner A, who calmly set his bath of hot water down by one of the guns, undressed, and got into the bath. A minute later, a large piece of shell also entered the bath, passed through the bottom of it, and into the ground. The gunner watched the precious water running out, then he slowly rose and, beginning to dress, remarked, "Very well, Fritz, have it your way. I may not be godly, but I did want to be clean."
I think the Germans were fearing his strip in this story.
How is a man supposed to keep his personal hygiene up even in the acts of war?
Uncouth.
So it looks like we got technically 2 more, although I can add 1 more if need be for you guys.
Who's next?
I believe Nathan is next, and
It would be me.
And the one that you'll be reading is 1 up and 2 to go.
There it is.
On the Struma front in 1917, a bombing plane was being put back into its hangar. Suddenly, there was a terrific bang. A dozen of us ran up to see what had happened, but a Cockney voice from inside the hangar cried out, "Don't come in, there's 2 more bombs to go off and I can't find them."
Yeah, that would be a cause for a panic.
Yep.
Man's had his head on straight, though.
Just like how if you're a traveling hospital/Mexican food truck, you just gotta make sure to tell people, nobody eat the salsa, there's been a terrible mix-up.
Yep.
Oh my.
Alright, so, Jedi, you're up next. And the one you're going to be reading is Afraid of Dogs.
Just give me a second. Spoiling the story. Here we are. Towards the end of October 1918, I was out on patrol in the front of Tournai on a dark, windy night. I had a Cockney private with me, and we were some distance from our lines when we heard a dog barking. All at once, before I could stop him, the Cockney whistled to it. I threw the Cockney down and dropped myself. A German very light went up, followed by a hail of machine gun bullets in our direction. As the light sprayed out, we saw the dog fastened to a German machine gun. We laid very still, and very presently, when things had quietened down, we slid cautiously backwards until it was safe to get up. All the Cockney said was, "Crikey, Cobb, I had the wind up. A blinking good job that their dog was chained up. Why? Why? 'Cause it may have bitten us. I alas were afraid of dogs."
This one didn't have his head on so bright straight.
Mhm.
This is what happens when you let your love for animals dictate your actions.
All right, so technically that was the last on the list, but I guess I might as well give one more. So, Calcul, your choice. Do you want Butterfingers or getting into hot water?
Hmm. Hmm. Can I do both?
Fine, you can get both of them.
Yay! Victory!
Congratulations.
You are the wiener. Yes. Okay, it doesn't say that. Oh well. A Cockney infantryman of the 47th Division was on the fire step on the night preceding the attack at Loo. We had huddled up in a ground sheet trying to keep cheerful in the drizzle. Suddenly a British 12-inch shell, yes, passed over him, and as he heard its slow rumble, he muttered, "Catch that one, you blighters." Just then it burst, and with a chuckle he added, "Oh, Butterfinger, you dropped it!" Oh, wait a second. There we go.
All right.
Right, getting into hot water, last one. We were in the wait, hold on. We were in the front line, and one evening, a Battersea lad and myself were ordered to go and fetch tea for the company from the cookhouse, which was in Bluff Trench. It was about a mile from the line down a beautiful duckboard track, excuse me. With the boiling tea strapped to our backs in big containers, both of which leaked at the nozzles, we started for the line. Then Jerry started sniping at us. There came from the line a sergeant who shouted, "Why don't you lads duck?" "That's right," replied my chum. "Do you think we want to... no. Do you think we want to be scalded to death?" Bah!
That's understandable.
Very spicy.
So, I think we've read enough here for you guys. So, thoughts overall?
Cheeky fuckers.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Agreed.
I'm like 50% wondering if they're just stupid and 50% wondering if they're pretending to be stupid for morale reasons.
Yes.
You never know, it could be a mixture of both.
Yes.
The thing is, you have to be genuinely a little stupid to be this, like, on point with the humor. But at the same time, you also have to be smart enough to be funny.
Yeah. I think that's probably the right analysis.
All right, so I think that's, well, like I said, so this has been from the 500, let me read it again so I can, 500 of the best Cockney war stories. This is a book that can be found freely these days because it is that old. And yeah, I think it's an easy recommend to have a go at. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
definitely.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get, if you've never been around Brits, it's a great way to get a taste of them.
So this is where they got the idea of Monty Python.
Maybe. And on the subject of the day, of course, with it being Veterans Day, and now I think we're going to be getting ready to end the stream soon. However, for those who are up for it, we are in fact there is actually going to be a movie we're going to be watching. That movie, believe it or not, is a true classic set in World War I. It is called Wings. It's an older movie, but it also has a lot of the guys that were involved in the movie are actual veterans of World War I. And the action scenes in that movie are, well, something to behold, definitely. So, anyone looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got some stuff I got to do,
That's
so I
understandable.
probably won't be able to make it. But
All right, but for everyone else, of course, that's going to be starting very soon. Yeah, again, I hope you have all enjoyed the stream. It's been a pleasure to have you all on board.
Thank
thank you
you.
for the invite.
Thanks, Ace.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I hope to my viewers that you've enjoyed watching the stream and enjoyed hearing us read off some of these stories. I'm pretty sure we can safely say we've had a blast reading some of these, definitely. And yeah, so yeah, in any case, this has been Ace.
That's my gun.
This has been Calkeel.
Jedi Knight.
And this has been Nathan.
And we all hope to see you all again soon. Until then, take